Hello and welcome back to another episode of Amplify. On today's episode, I am going to come at you with a few unpopular opinions, and I know that a few of these are going to ruffle some feathers, but that's kind of the point, right? This show and just so much about, I was going to say my brand, but really about me is about showing up unapologetically, showing up authentically, being my whole self, right? Raw, real, all of that. So why not talk about some unpopular opinions? As you likely know, I am not here to be palatable. I'm here to be authentic. So if you're ready to get a little activated and maybe a little challenged or even triggered, then let's go ahead and dive in. I am speaking today and with this show in general, but especially with this episode, to women who know, you just know, and you've likely known for a long time that you are here, you are meant for something bigger, right? You're meant to live an expansive, activating, fulfilling, beautiful life, right? You're meant for something more expansive, something bold, something unapologetic. You're ready to embody the most powerful, magnetic, and just authentic version of you. And so what that means is you're here for the truth, even if it's a little bit uncomfortable. So I'm going to break down some of these unpopular opinions. And these are specifically about femininity and dating. And I'm sure I could keep going and say so many more than this list, but we're just going to start with this list because I think we've got plenty to work with. So let's start it off with number one. Men and women are fundamentally different physically, mentally, emotionally, and energetically. And our differences are not only very, very important, but they're also incredibly beautiful. I know that that might be super obvious to some people, but I see so many women trying to act like men to get ahead, whether that's in dating or in life, you name it. And part of this, right? Part of this is because we live in a very masculine energy dominated world, especially a masculine energy dominated culture and society here in the United States for those who are, also American, but it's not just limited to the United States. This is so much of modern culture, to be perfectly honest. And while this episode is not the conversation for what I'm about to say, maybe we'll dive into it another time. With modern feminism, there were so many amazing things that came out of that and that we really as women needed. And that I think, for women like me, I'm in my 30s, that likely things that we maybe even take for granted, right? Because we've lived in this, girl power kind of era, right? So there were so many amazing things that came out of that. But I do also think that there were a lot of damaging things that came out of that. And one of those being really encouraging women to be more like men. And I get it, why that was said. And I get it to a certain extent of you can be anything, you can do anything, all of that. Sure. But encouraging women to be more like men, I think is really damaging because we are not men, right? We are fundamentally different in so many ways. And I think it's so beautiful. And I admire, appreciate, and respect men for being men. And I think men are incredible. And I love, 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 love women for being women. And I'm so grateful to be a woman. So that being said, our differences are not a problem. They're what make us special, and pretending that we are the same, that men and women are the same, is just delusional. And when you try to ignore these differences, it only makes things harder, not just in dating, but in life as well, right? It doesn't make things easier to pretend that men and women are the same and can do all the same things and have the same strengths and same weaknesses, all of that. Plus, and we're just going to jump right in, right? I'm starting number one here with unpopular opinions. We're going for it. Okay. So if this, you're like, whoa, get me out of here. Okay. Maybe not for you. See ya. Right. But I bet there's going to be several of these things that I'm going to share that you probably actually are going to agree with. There has been so much conversation in recent years, and there's still so much conversation going on about gender ideology and all this kind of stuff. And so while it shouldn't have to be said that men and women are different, right? We are in many, many ways by design, by intentional design. And you can't just like pick and choose what one you want to be based on how you feel, right? We're fundamentally different in so many ways, not just biologically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, all of that. And our differences, and those differences are so beautiful. All right, number 2, neither sex, neither gender is superior. We are equals in value, right? In our inherent value, but we are not the same in our strengths, in our needs, and in our gifts. And I don't think we're the same in our purposes either. And I get it. We want equality, yes, and we should have and we deserve equality, right? And we're talking equality under the law and all that kind of stuff, being seen as equal in value. But here's the truth. Men and women have different gifts, different strengths. We are meant to complement one another. We are not meant to compete with one another. We are designed to dance with our differences, not to dominate each other. And when we embrace this, we unlock a whole new level of connection, respect, community, and I would say even productivity, right? And just purpose, right? When we embrace our differences, but we see each other as equal in value, right? We just unlock a whole new level of purpose and opportunity for connection and respect. Number 3, feminine power isn't about doing more. It's about being more. So masculine energy operates in the realm of doing, feminine energy operates in the realm of being. That's a very, very simplified explanation of it. And that also doesn't mean that feminine energy and feminine beings are not meant to do things. We are, right? But I'm going to break it down. Feminine power is about connecting to your essence. It's not about cranking out results to prove that you're worthy. The most magnetic women that I know, they are grounded in their self-worth. They're rooted in their femininity and rooted in their essence of what it means to be a woman. They don't hustle and grind like men. They are magnetic by just being themselves. So your feminine power isn't about going out there and doing more and proving through your actions. It's about being your innate magnetic feminine self. Number 4, hustling like a man will burn out your nervous system and disconnect you from your deepest power. Ladies, and I kind of already said this, but you do not need to be more like a man in order to succeed. Now, when I say that, sure, there are certain ways that you may need to, and certain times when you're going to need to lean more into your masculine energy in order to be successful at something, right? But the great thing about being a human, whether you're a man or a woman, is that we all have masculine energy and feminine energy within us, and we are meant to be able to harmonize the two and dance between the two, right? As a woman and as very embodied feminine woman who, if you're new here, I used to be very stuck in my masculine energy. Now I am at home comfortably, safely, deliciously at home in my feminine energy. And that is my default. And because I've done the work to heal these sides of myself, my masculine and feminine energy, I know how to lean into my masculine energy when I need it and when it's going to serve me most, right? And so with that, right, we have the gift of being able to play with both of these energies, but you don't have to gaslight yourself into thinking that you have to show up and act like a man in order to be successful. In fact, I've seen the majority of my success has come from when I really embodied my feminine energy, right? Right. I saw a huge shift in my success once I started doing my feminine energy embodiment work, right? And I found more harmony and more balance. So embrace your unique power. Trying to mimic the masculine hustle will get you exhausted, disconnected from your intuition, disconnected from your body, disconnected from your feminine magic, and ultimately really burnt out. And trust me, your success is meant to flow with ease. You are meant to be magnetic. That doesn't mean that you're not going to need to take action because you do, right? But you should not be looking at how men do things and how men are successful and trying to emulate everything that they do, because that is not how women are designed to operate. Number 5, being in your feminine energy doesn't mean being passive or being meek. You are not a damsel in distress waiting for a man to read your mind and rescue you and save you. A woman in her feminine power knows what she wants, and she communicates her desires with clarity and grace. She doesn't wait for somebody else to figure it out for her. She is not some helpless little thing. She is not afraid of taking action. So being in your feminine energy doesn't mean being passive or weak, right? Powerful feminine women, they're not necessarily aggressive, right? And domineering, but there is so much power when you show up in your feminine magnetism, right? You hardly have to do very much at all to make things move in your favor and in your direction. So it's not about being passive, being meek, being subservient, right? Being embodied in your feminine power is incredibly powerful. It's just powerful in a different way than we assume it is, or we've been conditioned to think it is. All right, we're starting to get juicier. I mean, some of these have already been juicy, right? Number 6, you cannot demand a king if you're operating from wounded girl energy or toxic girl energy or unhealthy girl energy. And this one might sting a little bit, but it's true. Your embodiment is going to speak louder than any words that you say. So if you want a king, and I see this a lot on social media, like I deserve a king, like if he, no, like all this kind of stuff, like where's my king at, all of that. If you want a king, then you need to show up like a queen. That means, right? Treating yourself like royalty, absolutely. Holding yourself to a high standard, because queens are held to a high standard, and treating your partner with the same respect, admiration, and honor. So if you want a king, right, are you showing up as a queen? If you expect a man to be XYZ, all these things, are you showing up in that same regard? Right? You cannot demand, oh, I want this high value man, this king, all of this, if you're not showing up as the counterpart to that. Right? And this one, number 7, dives into that a little bit more. But too many women avoid accountability, blame men, and then wonder why love and dating feels so hard, or wonder why there aren't any good men. I'm using air quotes in case you're not watching this. And so look, I am not saying that all men are perfect. By no means. There's a lot of dusty trash out there, right? But it's so easy to blame the other person instead of taking accountability for your own growth, right? Like in the last, let's say 3 years, I've had wonderful men come into my life to date. Wonderful men. And many of them have not been what I'm looking for, right? They've maybe checked just about everything off of my list that I'm looking for and that I want in a partner, in a man to date, all of that. But maybe there's something missing, or it just wasn't the right chemistry or whatnot, right? I've had a wonderful dating experience the last several years. And so when I think about it, like oh, there aren't any good men, all men are trash. Not at all. Not in my life, not in my reality. Right? So it's so easy, if that's your experience and that's your reality, it's really easy to say that men are the problem, right? Instead of taking accountability for your own growth and your own embodiment. So self-responsibility is so sexy. And when you own your own stuff, you become really, really magnetic. When you do the inner work and you do your healing, you become really, really magnetic. But when you blame, like you blame others and you don't take accountability and self-ownership, then you push growth and love away. So I see this so much more on social media, but so many women kind of showing up and thinking I'm amazing, I'm perfect, he should love me just as I am, sort of thing. And then being like, I only attract crappy men. Like, why am I only attracting emotionally unavailable men? There's no good men out there. Like, the dating pool is crap, like all that kind of stuff. Like, babe, a lot of time the call is coming from inside the house. Like, what's going on? You are responsible for yourself, and you have so much more control over what you attract into your life and the kinds of people that you attract into your life based on who you be and how you show up. Number 8, if you have high standards for your partner or the partner that you want to attract, right? The kind of man that you want to be with, or women too, right? But I'm talking to the ladies. in this episode, if you have high standards for your partner, for your dream person, for who you want to be with, you also need to have high standards for yourself. So I see this a lot. Again, this is related to the last two. Women demanding high standards from their partner. Like, I want a high value man, high value this, high value that, like provider this, provider that, king this, king that, like I deserve queen treatment, princess treatment, like all that kind of stuff. But then letting themselves slide, or at least not holding themselves to that same standard, that same level. So a key question to ask yourself, if you want a high value man, I think those, like, I'm going to be real. You get what I'm saying when I say that, but I think those terms are like so cheesy, right? They're like so cheesy and just like hashtaggy, clickbaity, whatever. Okay. But you get what I'm saying. If you want a high value man, or whatever your dream man is, ask yourself this: are you the kind of woman that that man is looking for? And if not, start working on becoming that version of you. You don't need to be her completely right now, right? But at least be working toward becoming that version of you. Number 9, if you want a masculine man, then you need to be a feminine woman. It's pretty straightforward, pretty self-explanatory, this one. But if you're out there constantly trying to compete with men or lead or like prove yourself, or you're always taking control and you're like planning everything, you're always initiating all this kind of stuff, that is not only a recipe for emotional exhaustion, but it's also a recipe for how to attract a feminine energy man, or a man who is not in his healthy masculine energy. A masculine man wants a feminine woman, and masculine men want feminine women who lead with softness, with grace, with femininity, with magnetism, with boundaries, all of that, not women who fight for dominance. Number 10, a relationship will not fulfill all of your needs, nor will it make you feel whole and complete all of the time. So stop expecting one person to be your end all be all. Like, once I'm in a relationship, everything's going to be amazing, all this kind of stuff. Once I find my person, da 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 da, right? Stop expecting a partnership to heal what only you can give yourself, or what only God can give you. If you don't feel whole and complete on your own, a relationship is not going to fill that hole for you. And I get it. I get it. I am not yet remarried, and I would love, love, love to have a beautiful, amazing like husband again. I would love to get married again and have my life partner, all of that. And so that is, if we're looking at it this way, sure, that's something that is quote unquote missing or not in my life right now. But I don't feel like there's a hole, right? I don't feel like there's a gap. I'm not walking around each day like sad because of this, or like pining for it, right? So one person is not going to meet all your needs, is not going to fix you or fill that gap that you might have. So you need to work on being whole on your own so that you can be whole in a relationship. Because if you are waiting for a relationship to help make you whole, or another person to help make you whole, then you're going to be putting a lot of pressure on the relationship and on the person, an unfair pressure as well, right? And with that too, one person is not going to be able to meet all of your relational needs. And what I mean by that is, your person, your partner is not going to fulfill every single human contact, human relationship kind of need that you have. And let me break it down for you a little bit. So I'm an entrepreneur. I run my own business. I work for myself, all of this kind of stuff. And my ideal partner is also an entrepreneur, because they get it. We have similar flexibility, similar lifestyle, similar mindsets a lot of the time, right? That's my ideal situation. And the man that I'm dating now is an entrepreneur. And that's one of the things I really, really value about him. And I feel like there's so much more common ground. And that's not a deal breaker for me, right? I've dated many wonderful men who work like more corporate jobs, right? And so my point with this is, if I was with a man who works more corporate job, right? there might be a part of me that's like, bummer, I want to talk about entrepreneurial things with him, and he just doesn't get it the way that, another entrepreneur might get it. Well, I have friends who are entrepreneurs that I can get that need met through and have conversations with them in that way, right? Similarly, let's say your partner makes you laugh a lot, but they're not the funniest person you've ever met in your entire life, sort of thing, right? Instead of being like, well, they're funny and they make me laugh a lot, but like I could be with somebody funnier. Okay, sure. This is kind of a silly example. But you can also be like, oh, but I have like amazing girlfriends who make me laugh so much and I get those deep belly laughs with them. So like I'm actually good. Like that need is fulfilled through my friendships. Right. So my point with this is don't expect one person to fulfill every single need that you have that you're going to need from humans. Right. So with that, like that's why you have friendships, right? That's why you have hobbies and stuff like that, so that you can get needs met outside of your person. Obviously, when I say this, because I don't want anyone running with this in some weird direction, I'm not talking about like needs met outside of your relationship that would not be appropriate, right? But making sure that like realizing, because this is realistic, like, oh, my partner is not going to fulfill every single need that I have, right? And that's not fair to expect that of them. And also a relationship in itself. So a person is not going to fulfill every single one of your needs, and a relationship is not going to fulfill all your needs. And it's not going to fulfill you if you don't feel fulfilled on your own. So if you're feeling unfulfilled already in your life, a relationship is not going to change that for you. Right now, I also, to like, counter my own argument, I would love to have children. I would love to have a family. I am so excited to be a mom and all of that. And like I said, I'm so excited to be a wife, be a mom, just like pour myself into my family. And so while I, right now, with that not being my current life, I cannot have that need directly fulfilled until it's fulfilled, right? But there are ways that I can fulfill that need of nurturing and loving and like mothering kind of energy in other ways. For example, I love tending to my garden. And again, that's like not a garden is not a substitute for a human child. We get this. But that fulfills a need for me of like nurturing and tending to something and watching something grow, right? And so while it's not the same thing at all, it is an opportunity and a way for me to fill that bucket a little bit, right? I have a dog. So like pouring into my dog is a way that I fulfill that caretaking need. I have a foster dog right now that I'm helping take care of until she gets adopted. And so that's a way for me to fulfill those needs. And so I realize and I recognize obviously that the need for like the desire for myself to be a mom, like that's not going to get fulfilled until I'm actually a mom. But there are ways and things that you can do to fill your own cup like in the meantime, right? On the way to the fulfillment of whatever that goal or that desire is. And just like in a relationship, right? Like I said, every single one of your needs is not going to be met by your one partner or that one relationship. So maybe you love to dance and your partner doesn't like to dance very much. And maybe that's not a deal breaker for you, right? Go to dance class with your girlfriends, get that right. So hope this is making sense, because if you're expecting another person or a relationship to complete you or to fulfill everything that you need, then you're always going to be disappointed. Okay, so we're about halfway through. And I know some of you are either nodding along or maybe feeling a little bit triggered. All the reactions are totally fine. And I'm not here to like soothe you, coddle you, anything like that. I'm here to support you in stepping into your power, into making you think and maybe shifting your perspectives, you name it. So let's keep going. Number 11, femininity is not about being weak, submissive, or less than. And I want to be clear on this. Femininity is unapologetically powerful. It's about being expressed, attuned, and present. A feminine woman is a force of nature. So if you think back to, you may have seen me post something related to this on Instagram or listened to the episode that I did on this next topic. But when I say a feminine woman is a force of nature and not about being weak, submissive, or less than, a lot of people equate femininity with subservient and weak and like pushover kind of energy, which is not what it is at all. So what I'm referencing that I shared previously is my podcast episode titled Women Are the Waves and Men Are the Rocks, right? Like, let's think about the ocean and waves and the power of water. Flow, ease, fluid, ever changing, right? Can take many, many forms, all that kind of stuff. So if women are like water, like the ocean, it can be still, it can be calm, but it can also like destroy entire ships and like like make land crumble down, like all that kind of stuff. So women are not like weak, submissive, meek, that kind of stuff. And just like if we're using that metaphor of men being the rocks, like rocks are powerful, right? Rocks are powerful. They can contain the waves. And so a feminine woman, she is soft and grounded, but she's also wild. She is wise and she knows the power of her presence. So a feminine woman is capable of activating a man by her presence and her energy alone. Like how freaking cool. So one of the things that I love so much about being a woman and women in general is that like when we learn about our true power, we have to do much less. And we are so much more powerful when we do less. All right, number 12. If you are confused by a man's actions and how he feels about you, then he's probably just not that into you. So clarity is very sexy. When a man is interested, he is going to make it very clear. And if you're left wondering or you are confused, he's probably not that serious, right? So train yourself to be unattracted to a lack of clarity. When you feel confused, instead of that activating a trauma response in you or activating a pattern that makes you want to like lean in and chase and like investigate and understand, let me understand, let's just talk about it, all that kind of stuff, right? If it's activating some anxious attachment, train yourself instead to find a lack of clarity unattractive. Oh, you're not being clear about how you feel about me. Your actions are confusing. I'm unattracted. That's a turnoff to me. Instead of it activating something in you that makes you want to lean in and chase harder. Number 13, if you attract a lot of crappy or toxic men, and it's time for some tough love here, then there is something in you that is not only sending out a signal that's attracting that kind of energy, but there's also a part of you that is attracted to that kind of energy and those kinds of men. So if you keep attracting the wrong kind of men, it's because on some level, you're an energetic match for them. So that means that there's a part of you that needs to be rewired, a new identity that you get to adopt so that you are no longer an energetic match for men like that. So rewire that energy, adopt a new identity, and step into your true power, because the right man is not going to chase drama, right? The right man won't be attracted to drama. And so when I'm saying this, yes, I am saying that you are part of the problem, right? If you just have toxic men or emotionally unavailable men or men who treat you badly or crappy men or whatever it is, if that's your consistent experience in reality, you're part of the problem. Said with so much love. But that is totally something that you can change. And this is actually something that I work with clients on rewiring and changing on like the deep, like subconscious level. But more on that later. Number 14, true feminine surrender is a sign of strength. Now, surrendering does not mean weakness. It takes trust in God, in yourself, in your body, in your discernment to surrender to someone else. So when you surrender, you're saying that you have a high level of trust in yourself, that you can handle whatever comes your way. You're saying that you trust that God has your back, and you're also confident in your decision making when it comes to who to trust to surrender to, right? So one of the most beautiful aspects of femininity is surrender, right? Of feminine energy is surrender and is submission. But that doesn't mean that everyone deserves our surrender or our submission. By no means, right? Your surrender is a gift that should be earned, right? And so when you surrender, it's such a beautiful demonstration of strength because you're saying, oh, I trust myself. I trust God. I trust that God has my back. I trust my discernment. I trust my decision making. I trust that this person is safe to surrender to. And if things go differently than I expected and than I had in mind, I trust that I'm going to be okay. Number 15, you will only attract the depth of love that your nervous system feels safe to receive. So you don't attract what your mind says that you want. You don't attract what's on your vision board, but you do attract what your body believes is safe. So if love has always felt chaotic, conditional, or unsafe, then calm, stable, grounded love might feel boring, or it might feel threatening, or it might just feel weird or uninteresting, right? And so healing your nervous system will expand your capacity for intimacy, for devotion, and for true partnership. Healing your nervous system is the key to opening up deeper love and being able to receive deep, healthy, sustainable, intimate, like just good love. Number 16. If you are in a crappy relationship, and I am not talking about outright abuse or DV, then you're allowing it. You show people how to treat you, right? And you get what you tolerate. So if your standards are merely words that carry no weight and they're not boundaries that are backed by action, then they mean nothing. I'm going to say that again. If your standards are just words, right? They're not boundaries supported by action, boundaries enforced by consequences, enforced by actions, then they're worthless, right? So self-respect is much louder than ultimatums. So stop telling that man over and over again how to treat you right. Because if you're having the same conversation over and over again and telling him, hey, when you do this, it hurts my feelings. Hey, stop doing that. Hey, remember how we talked about that? Hey, remember, and you're sending paragraphs, all that kind of stuff. If you're doing this over and over again, he doesn't care. It's not a communication issue. It's an empathy issue. So either move on and find somebody better, or just accept that that is the reality that you're choosing and it's probably not going to change. Number 17, it is okay to just want to be a wife and a mom, or to not have your life focused on your work as a woman. It's okay to want to have a soft life that is focused on pouring into yourself, pouring into your man, and pouring into your family. That being said, quote unquote, high value men, right, don't usually want women who are just sitting around at home doing nothing. So make sure that you still have your own passions, your own hobbies, your own interests, and your own personality. So if you want that soft life, that stay-at-home wife life, that stay-at-home mom life, all that kind of stuff, if that is for you and that's what you want, I love that. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. But also still fill your own cup, right? Still be your own individual human. Your life doesn't have to be focused on work or career. And women who say, oh, you're giving up XYZ to have a family, all that kind of stuff, like what a blessing to be able to focus your life and your energy on your partner and your family. I think it's beautiful. Number 18, this is our last one. Healthy love can sometimes feel boring. If you tend to have a lot of push-pull or emotional volatility in relationships, or if you need to be chased or love-bombed in order to feel wanted, then you're not ready for mature love. Masculine men, yes, they will pursue you, they will initiate, they will lean in, they will lead, but they don't beg. They're not going to be chasing you down, right? Healthy masculine men also aren't going to be love-bombing you. So if you mistake consistency for neediness and devotion for desperation, your nervous system then is addicted to emotional highs. It's not wired for healthy love. But like I said, you can rewire it. But sometimes, like once I did a lot of my healing, healthy relationships kind of seemed boring because I used to love that high intensity, that like almost obsessive kind of spinny energy with somebody in the that very beginning. And if it wasn't there in the very beginning, I thought something was wrong. And then when I did a lot of my healing work, that healthy dating was sometimes felt boring, uneventful. And then I was like, no, this is how it's supposed to feel: steady, calm, grounded, all of that. And I will say that you can have healthy love and healthy dating that also feels really exciting and really activating, but in a just entirely different way. So there you have it. Some of my unpopular opinions that maybe you completely agree with, or maybe they've gotten you a little bit heated. Whatever your reaction is, if something resonated with you in this episode, I want you to take action. So start embodying these truths, the ones that really stuck out to you. Dig in deeper, start embodying that. And if they pissed you off, then I don't know, maybe you needed to hear it, right? And let me know which of these landed the hardest for you. Feel free to slide into my DMs or tag me on social, like post in your stories and tag me, slide into my DMs and let me know, shoot me a message, all that kind of stuff. I would love to hear what you thought, and I would love to keep the conversation going. And keep in mind, this journey is about stepping into your full unapologetic power. I don't expect you to agree with everything that I say or think or do, but hopefully that you took some nuggets out of today's episode. We'll see you on the next one.